Hello everybody, today for you I have a traditional Frog Monarch deck for the Edison format 2010. This is a classic look on the Frog Monarch deck. This is very similar to how you might see it back in the day. There's a few tech choices and few spots here where you can choose things, but generally this is what your list would look like. To start her off, we have our 3 swap frog, of course. We play a full frog package in this deck. With 3 dupe frog too. That is the traditional way to do it. People were a little bit sillier back then when it came to dupe frog. We played 2 treeborn frog, 1 unifrog. Being able to pop back row before you summon a monarch is very good. You can get that extra summon to summon your unifrog off a swap frog. So, you know, being able to special summon or get an extra normal summon to summon a unifrog is extremely powerful. Of course, we have our hand trap monsters, Gores and Trag. We got 3 Substitoad, the heart of this deck. Substitoad is extremely powerful in this deck. Has a lot of synergy with things like Soul Exchange, which I'll explain when we get to Soul Exchange. It allows you to set up boards like your dupe block, of course. When you control a dupe frog, your opponent has to attack the dupe frog. So if you control 2, well, they can't attack at all because they can't attack either, which in a lot of matchups is almost impossible for them to get over. For example, the Machina lists often struggle with getting over a dupe block if because at that point, if they're trying to set a hamster or Raikou, you're going to be able to just use a Monarch to remove it instantly. Yeah. So next up we have our 3 Battle Fader 2 in terms of hand trap monsters, 3 Caius. Now we're getting to the Monarchs. Of course you play Caius, the strongest Monarch of all. Of course you play Ryza, the 2nd strongest Monarch of all. Well, here's where things start to get a little interesting. You have Zaborg. I feel like Zaborg is probably the next best Monarch. You can make an argument for Thestalos, but I really feel like removing board pressure is really important when you're playing frogs, because that's usually how you kind of lose, is by your opponent establishing a board, pushing. You don't have a Battle Fate or anything like that, so you won't be able to live through another Onslaught before you can drop another Monarch. You could also play like Dark Dust Spirit, of course. I really feel like establishing a board is kind of important in frogs, though, because otherwise you're just going to be taking direct hits. You can't really afford to, especially in the aggressive meta nowadays. Next up, we play 2 Light and Darkness Dragon. This card's pretty good. It does struggle in the current meta right now. Obviously, treeborn frogs around. You know, and you have Vayu, so it gets pretty awkward, honestly. And also Lightsworns interacts poorly with Lila and stuff. So honestly, Lad's feeling less and less useful sometimes. Still a very strong card, and you're able to get to certain game states. This is just a game-winning card. I'd be curious to see if there's anything else out there worth playing as far as tributes, but Lad's probably the one. You got Brain Control, of course, and then your 3 extra Brain Controls and Enemy Controller. Probably the best part of playing frogs is Enemy Controller treeborn interactions. This will allow you to get extra tribute fodder for your lads. Yeah, probably one of the best cards in the game. Yeah. Heavy Storm, MST, 3 Soul Exchange. Now Soul Exchange is an insane card in this deck, particularly because of Substitoad. What you can do is you can activate Soul Exchange and then summon Substitoad to priority tribute your opponent's monster. There's nothing your opponent can do about this at that point, right? Unless they have Solemn Judgment. So really just the best removal in the game, Soul Exchanges. Obviously it gives you tribute fodder for your Zaborgs, your Ryzas, your Lads. It can be kind of awkward because you might be at a point where you already have your treeborn established and you're drawing Monarchs and you don't really need the Soul Exchange because your opponent's not pushing. So there's potential for Soul Exchange to be kind of awkward. But if your opponent's not pushing, At that point, hopefully you have a Substitute, so you can just tribute their one monster, set up a dupe lock. Yeah. And we end the deck list with Threatening Roar. Threatening Roar is a strong addition to this deck because what frogs lose to is usually those awkward points where you don't have that Battle for Gors or Trag, and you have to survive another turn. Maybe your Monarch got bottomless or something. So you really need, basically for this deck, is more Battle Faders so you get more turns to Monarch your opponent out of the game. This card also is very strong against GBs and the Ready Aries and crap. And also this deck has a tendency to lose to your opponent going like Sirocco Bora, Pump Bora, attack into, you know, Battle Fader or something for, you know, huge damage. So Threatening Roar actually, in a way, is better than Battle Fader at times because it stops your opponent from crashing into your monsters. So very strong. In terms of the side deck, Frogs has an interesting option to play Electric Virus and Puppet Plant to steal machines, dragons, warriors, and spellcasters for extra tribute. Not really all that necessary though, probably. You already have Brain Control Triple Econ, it's just cute. Interestingly, you can always play Super Polyam Frogs. Your extra deck, you probably have the space, first of all. And second of all, you'll always have a water monster in play because you're Treeborn. So if your opponent's playing heroes, you'll side in the Super Polys so that you can make absolute zero with their hero monsters and your water monster. Very strong play. You know if you do that, you're not going to die for a turn because you have an absolute zero. Yeah, definitely a strong side for Frogs. And lastly, we have the Treacherous Trap Hole, which you might traditionally play if you're not playing Threatening Roars. I feel like Threatening Roars probably a better choice at this point, even though Treacherous is such a powerful card. You really need that survivability. So guys, that's it for the traditional Frog Monarch list. I hope you enjoyed. I played a list very similar to this back in the day. Had great success around the Tengu Plants format a little bit before that with the list just like this. So I think give her a go. It might not be as explosive as your newer Frog list with heroes, but it is tried and true, and I think it's a strong option honestly in this format right now. So have a good day, guys.